I've sat at this window for 64 years, waiting for a man who wasn't actually there. My name is Beatrice Callahan. Everyone calls me Bea. Last Tuesday, my grandson Marcus was helping me organize my bedroom closet. He found an old cigar box pushed all the way to the back, behind my winter coats. Inside was a stack of deposit slips, bank deposit slips, dated from 1957 to 1989. And now my daughters know exactly who their mother really was. Henry and I got married on October 12, 1946, at St. Anne's Church in Philadelphia. I was 18, a cashier at the corner grocery. He was 22, just home from the war, working at the shipyard. He wasn't the handsomest man in Philadelphia, but he was steady. That's what my mother said. "Bea, that one's steady, you marry steady." So I did. We bought this row house on Rittner Street in 1948, $3,200. Same house I'm in right now. Same drafty windows, same crack in the ceiling I've been staring at for 70 years. We had Patricia in 1949, then Rose in 1952. 2 girls. Henry wanted a boy, but after Rose the doctor said no more. Henry never said much about it, but I saw the way he looked at other people's sons. Henry worked at the shipyard for 37 years. Came home every night smelling of oil and rust. He was a Union man, a Knights of Columbus man, the kind of man who showed up with a casserole when somebody died and never said a word about it. People used to say, "Bea, you hit the jackpot with that one." And I believed them. For a long time I believed them. But here's what I learned in 89 years. The quiet ones, sometimes they're not quiet because they're peaceful. Sometimes they're quiet because they're hiding. June 1957. I remember because Rose had just turned 5, and Patricia was starting 2nd grade. Henry had been working a lot of overtime. Double shifts, he said. The shipyard was busy. I didn't question it. That was his job. Then one night he came home and forgot his lunch pail on the kitchen table. Henry never forgot anything. I opened it to put his thermos in the sink, and there it was. A receipt from a diner in Camden, not for 1 meal, for 2, and on the napkin stuffed inside, a phone number, written in lipstick. Now I need you to understand something. I am not a fancy woman. I never was. But I am not stupid. I've never been stupid. A wife knows. They'll tell you you're crazy. They'll tell you you're imagining things. But a wife knows. Don't let anybody tell you different. I didn't say anything that night. I put the receipt back, closed the pail, and made his lunch for the next day like nothing happened. But I started watching. August 1957. Henry said he had a union meeting in Camden. He left at 6. I put the girls to bed, called my neighbor Helen to sit with them, and I took the ferry across the river. I don't know what I was looking for. Proof, I guess. Something to make me feel crazy or something to make me feel right. I found the bar first, a little place near the waterfront. I sat across the street on a bus bench for an hour. Then I saw him, Henry, my Henry, walking out of that bar with a woman on his arm. Not young, my age. Dark hair, red lipstick. She laughed at something he said, and he put his hand on the small of her back like he'd done it 1,000 times. Like he did with me. I sat on that bus bench until they got in his truck and drove away. Then I sat some more. Then I went home. I was back before the girls woke up. I never told a soul. Her name was Dolores. I found out later. She was a widow, worked at the diner where Henry stopped for coffee. Her husband died at Iwo Jima, same war Henry came home from. Maybe that was the connection. Maybe he felt like she understood something I couldn't. I don't know. I never asked. But here's the thing. The affair isn't what I kept secret for 53 years. It's what I did about it. Because finding out about Dolores wasn't what changed me. What I chose to do next changed everything. I should have left. I know that. You're thinking it right now, and you're right. But listen to me. It was 1957. I was 29 years old with 2 little girls. I had no car, no bank account, no family within 100 miles. Henry's name was on everything. The house, the bills, the girls' birth certificates. And in our neighborhood, in our church, if Beatrice Callahan left Henry Callahan, you know what they would have said? They would have said I couldn't keep my man. They would have said something must be wrong with me. That's how it was. I don't care if you don't like hearing it. That's how it was. So I stayed. But I made a decision. I decided I would never need him again. Not for anything. I started hiding money. Quarters, dimes, whatever I could skim from the grocery money. I put it in a coffee can in the back of the closet. It took me 3 years to save $200, but I did it. Just a little savings account. My name only. I got a job. Part-time at the Five and Dime after the girls went to school. Henry didn't like it, but I told him it was for Christmas presents. He believed me. Men believe what's easy. I became a different woman after that night in Camden. My girls felt it. I wasn't mean, not exactly, but I wasn't soft anymore. I was watching, always watching. Every dollar Henry spent, I matched in my own account. Every night he came home late, I added another quarter to the can. Patricia asked me once, she was maybe 12, she said, "Mama, why do you keep that coffee can in your closet?" I said, "For emergencies, baby." She said, "What kind of emergencies?" I said, "The kind you don't see coming." She didn't understand. None of them understood. They just knew their mother was always counting something. And you know what I found out later? Henry never stopped seeing Dolores. He saw her for 32 years, right up until he got sick. I found out after he died. An envelope in his sock drawer. Pictures of them at the shore, at somebody's wedding, at what looked like a family picnic. Dolores had a son, a boy who looked just like Henry. Same chin, same eyes. He had another child, a son, the son he always wanted. And I never knew. I turned myself into a woman who counted pennies and watched doorways and never quite trusted anybody. And it was all for nothing. That's the part I can't forgive, not the affair. The fact that I spent 50 years preparing for a disaster that was already happening, and I didn't even know it. Henry died on February 14th, 1989. Heart attack at the shipyard. They gave him a union funeral. Hundreds of people. The priest called him a family man, a good provider. I sat in the front pew and I did not cry. Not one tear. Rose squeezed my hand and whispered, "It's okay, Mama." I said, "I know," but I didn't, because I'd used up all my tears on a bus bench in Camden 32 years before, and he never even knew I was there. After Henry died, my girls drifted. Patricia moved to Arizona. Rose went to New York. I've been alone in this house for 35 years, 76 years on Rittner Street, and most days now, the only voice I hear is my own. Last Tuesday, Marcus found that cigar box. He's 23, Patricia's boy, a music teacher. He was helping me clean the closet because I finally admitted I can't reach the top shelf anymore. He found the box, opened it, and there they were. Deposit slips from 1957 to 1989. Every dollar I saved, every quarter I hid, $53 here, $100 there. At the bottom, a photograph I'd forgotten I kept. Henry and me on our wedding day, October 12th, 1946. We looked so young, so sure. Marcus held that photograph and said, "Grandma, is this Pop? I said, "That's him." He said, "You look happy." I said, "We were, for a while." He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "What happened?" And I told him everything, the whole story for the first time in my life. Marcus listened. Then he said, "Mom needs to know." Patricia called that night from Arizona. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Mama, all those years I thought you were just careful. I thought you were worried about money. I didn't know you were scared." I said, "I wasn't scared, baby. I was prepared." She said, "Prepared for what?" I said, "For whatever came next. That's what you do when you can't leave. You get ready." Rose hasn't called. She was always Henry's girl. She had him wrapped around her finger. I imagine finding out the truth about her hero feels like the ground shifting. I understand. But I'm 89. I can't wait forever. Dolores's son called me last week. His name is Michael. He's 62. Lives in South Jersey. He said, "Mrs. Callahan, I never wanted to cause trouble. I just wanted to know who my father was. My mother never told me the whole truth. She just said he was a good man who couldn't be with us." I said, "Was he a good man to you?" Michael said, "He came to my baseball games. He helped me with my homework. He taught me how to fish. He was a good father to me. I wanted to know where I came from." I sat at this kitchen table, the same table where I found that napkin with the lipstick number 67 years ago, and I said, "Michael, you come to this house anytime. You're family. You always were. I just didn't know it." He's coming on Saturday, bringing his wife, his daughters, my granddaughters, the ones I never knew I had. Here's what I know now that I didn't know then. You can spend your whole life getting ready for the worst. You can hide money and watch doorways and keep your heart small so nobody can break it. And the whole time, life is happening somewhere else. To other people. To the version of you that wasn't so busy being scared. I spent 50 years preparing for Henry to leave, and he never did leave. He just lived 2 lives, and I lived half of one. If you're carrying something, if you're watching and waiting and counting pennies for the day it all falls apart, stop. You can't prepare for betrayal. You can only survive it. And surviving it doesn't mean building a fortress. It means knowing you're strong enough to rebuild when it's over. I wasn't strong enough to leave in 1957, but I was strong enough to save myself, dollar by dollar, year by year. That's not nothing, that's something. I just wish I'd spent some of those dollars on something beautiful. Something just for me, instead of saving them for a disaster that already happened. Henry is gone, Dolores is gone, but Michael is coming to my house on Saturday, and Patricia is flying in from Arizona, and we're going to sit at this table, the same table where I learned my husband had another life, and we're going to be a family, a strange one, a late one, but a real one. Rittner Street, 76 years in this house, same drafty windows, same crack in the ceiling. But when Michael walks through that door with Henry's chin and Henry's eyes, I'm not going to be the woman who spent 50 years watching doorways. I'm just Bea. And I have been waiting a very, very long time to meet all of you.